Hey guys, Mike here. I just wanted to do a 2023 channel update and Q&A kind of thing this week because the channel's grown a lot. We're nearly on 3,000 subscribers now and we've had a lot of growth, and you may have noticed I've changed my approach to content on this channel, which is working really well for growth. We're putting out a lot of shorts now, and basically the model for this channel is clipping up my main podcast, which goes for about 50 minutes, into smaller, more digestible clips, shorter clips. And that's been working really well. So I just wanted to do a little channel update. Yeah, Q&A kind of thing today. Now, if you're not familiar with me or if you're new to the channel, this is also going to be a channel intro. So my name's Mike, Radio Mike, sometimes known as Podcast Mike. And I'm a podcaster, producer, and writer from here in Melbourne. I've worked on a bunch of pretty well-known Australian podcasts as a producer. I've done a little bit of work in TV, and I've done a bunch of work in commercial radio as well. But in 2023, as much as I love doing all that stuff, I'm also going to be putting a lot more time, effort, and esteem into my own content that I produce on this channel and elsewhere. So basically, I have two podcasts that I do that are both growing. One is called 20th Century Boy, and that's the one you'll see the most clips of on this channel. It is the conversations you wish you were having about the stuff that no one else cares about. That is the tag of 20th Century Boy. It's now in its 5th year. We're in season 5 of the podcast, and it's a weekly podcast. It comes out on Thursday on all your normal audio podcast streaming apps like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, etc. But also a full video version goes up on YouTube as well. And it's great fun, talking all things pop culture, nerd culture, daily sort of the week's sort of news and stuff. So check that out. It's a really fun podcast and I love making it, and that's where most of the clips from this show are sourced from. Or if you just like watching those short clips, feel free to do that. The other podcast I work on is called Harry Potter and the Boys. It is a Harry Potter fan fiction that I wrote when I was 13. Each week I'm joined by a comedian guest, usually my friend Sam Garlep, who reads out the fan fiction and we unpack it as a team. It's a very absurd, highly sexual, fourth wall breaking fan fiction that is increasingly ridiculous in every chapter. There's also 7 books in the series, and we're currently towards the end of book 2, so I would love for you to check that out as well. It's getting a really big worldwide audience, which is pretty cool. I also pop up on radio here in Melbourne from time to time doing spots, generally talking pop culture and TV, and I love... what else do I like to do? I don't know, lots of stuff. I have a Patreon as well, patreon.com/Radio Mike, where you can get 2 weekly bonus podcasts from me if you do want a little bit extra and want to contribute to me as an independent and small creator just trying to grow. I would love one day to do this full time and to make money off my content. I currently have about 72 Patreon subscribers, would love to get that up to 100, and I'd love to, get more listeners, get more views so we can start having more ads on the show, therefore bringing in more revenue and helping us to increase the production quality of this show and this channel and this content network. On the 20th Century Boy podcast feeds, you can also find special bonus editions called Mike Talks, where I talk to a notable guest. In the past, I've had comedians like Luke Kidgel, Broden Kelly from Auntie Donna, Jack Post from Hamish and Andy, writer Ryan Shelton, who you may also know from some of Hamish and Andy's projects. I've had YouTubers like Dave Lee Down Under, and many, many, many more cool people. So definitely go and check those out as well. So that's basically what my channel is. That's what I do and what I'm all about. I'd love for you to get involved. Send me an email anytime, radiomikepod@gmail.com, or just follow me on Instagram, radio.mike, and send me a DM. But let's launch into the Q&A, which came in from a bunch of our listeners and viewers of this channel. There's a few questions here. I'll start off with one from Hannah Cads, who says, what are your goals for the pod in 2023? She asked this about the Harry Potter fanfic podcast, but I'll talk about it with both. Next week, I'm doing a live podcast here in Melbourne for Harry Potter and the Boys with Sam Garlip, the comedian. And that was one of the biggest goals of mine for a very long time, to actually do a live show. And I'm really nervous, but really excited. I can't wait to do it. We've sold a bunch of tickets. I was really worried we wouldn't sell any tickets, but we have sold a bunch of tickets. So, yeah, there'll be a bunch of people there. Grab a ticket if you haven't already and you're in Melbourne. And I think that was a big goal for me, because over the years I have had a ton of anxiety around ever doing any kind of live show. And I just kind of thought, no, I'm in a place where I feel like we can do this. I feel like I'm capable of doing this and I want to do it. And I sort of overcame that anxiety. Well, not yet, because I haven't done it yet, but I'm not, like, I am feeling nervous, but it's not permeating every day. So that was definitely a big goal, which we're passing pretty early in the year. But after that, I would love to, grow Harry Potter and the Boys much bigger. It's already growing very, very fast because of the worldwide appeal of Harry Potter. For 20th Century Boy, growing as well. Hopefully doing a few more like event style things for that pod as well. But generally, I think growth, gaining new listeners, and more views and everything like that is the goal. I forgot to mention at the start, I also have TikTok and Instagrams for all of my stuff. We've had a bunch of videos getting 1 million, 2 million, 2.1 million views. So yeah, go and check out me on TikTok and Instagram. I'm sure you'll find it. Hayden Newcomb sent in best moment of the pod ever. I'll do this for 20th Century Boy. I think it's pretty hard to say because there's so much good stuff on that show, if I do say so myself. But I think one of the most memorable moments from that show was when I tried to eat 100 nuggets in 100 minutes for episode 100 of the show. And I failed. It was really, really hard. I think I only got to 52 nuggets. There's a video of it on this channel actually, so definitely check that out. But yeah, most memorable moment and maybe the best moment was the 100 nugget challenge. Also getting featured on the Kyle and Jackie O show, Australia's biggest, most successful radio show, and in the Wall Street Journal podcast. Those were two big feats for the pod. Scooter says, if one had to be destroyed, would you choose Shrek or The Emperor's New Groove? This is so hard because they're two of my favorite movies of all time. I guess Shrek was so much more culturally relevant and still is as a franchise, but to be honest, The Emperor's New Groove really shaped so much of my comedic sensibilities. I think I'd destroy Shrek. As much as I love it, I'd go Emperor's New Groove. Connie asks, do you wear wigs? Probably a joke question, but no, I don't. All natural hair, all natural. Grew it myself. I am sort of starting to lose a bunch on the sides here, but you know, that's just growing up, I suppose. Gannon-Bort asks, what's your favorite moment / saga you were involved in from Luke and Lewis? Luke and Lewis was a radio show and podcast that I worked on for a little while, and it was heaps of fun. It was one of the best experiences of my life. It's going back a really long time, but I'm trying to think of something that I found fun on that show. I mean, everything about it was fun. The favorite moment or saga, probably just the Reese Maston saga. If you're a long-time listener of that show, you'll know what I'm talking about. The singer Reese Maston became involved in the show in a funny way, and we ended up meeting with him both on air and off air, and I got to be a part of that just because I was paneling the show on radio. So maybe all of that Reese Maston stuff in the very early days. David has 3 questions. What's your top 5 pizza places you've eaten at? I don't think I have a top 5, but the best pizza place here in Melbourne is Boy Pizza in Kew, right around the corner from where I grew up and where my parents live. That is a great pizza place. It used to be a La Porchetta. It's now called Boy Pizza, B-U-O-Y. What's your favorite Top Gear special? Have never watched Top Gear. I think it's about cars. Could not tell you. And how about your favorite Kevin Spacey movies? Okay, little bit of a problematic one because of Kevin Spacey, but I mean, separate the art from the artist. Let me just open my Letterboxd account and go Kevin Spacey. And I mean, the one that springs to mind is Pay It Forward, Baby Driver, American Beauty is really good. I didn't like Moon. I think those are the only ones of him I've seen. I mean, I'd probably say American Beauty, except Pay It Forward has like a special place in my heart for some reason. Red wrote in, not sure if it's too late, but what is the weirdest thing you've had to do for another podcast you worked at? I think everything weird was at Hamish and Andy. They do so many weird, wacky stunts, so many just strange requests. The weirdest one was probably when I had to buy fly eggs and try to grow 10 to 15 flies in an insect catcher so that someone could come in and kill all of them with his hand. Lots of random prop searches where you have to go out and buy a bunch of stuff you don't know where to get and just find it. The fly thing didn't work, and we ended up asking a guy who ran a pet shop to capture flies, and then it was a long story. Most stuff on Hamish and Andy is really weird. Alex Sky asks, everyone says that lockdown was a great time to be creative because you're locked up by yourself, but do you reckon you eventually hit sort of a creative wall if you're just thinking alone? Because now we're out of it and you're making so much cool stuff with so many different people. Do you reckon collaboration is always, if not often, better than just relentless solo brainstorming? Yeah, interesting. I thought lockdown was good creatively for a bit, but then I kind of got stuck in this thing where it was hard to think of things to talk about because a lot of the content that I do on my podcast, 20th Century Boy, just sort of comes from me doing stuff. For example, this week I'm talking about the Australian Open tennis because I went and I started thinking about it and I started writing stuff about it and thinking about it in a comedic way, in a critical way, like all of these different things. So when we're in lockdown every day, I guess you just had a lot of time, but that time wasn't very inspired and you didn't really have much to think laterally about because you weren't doing anything. Every day was so similar. So I do think collaborating is much more fun. I love collaborating with other people. I love doing a solo podcast, but I love bouncing ideas off people, working with other people, chatting with other people. It all helps fuel what ends up becoming content for me. And, you know, some of the conversations I have with friends end up being reused on the podcast because, you know, it's just, that's the whole ethos of my podcast. It's just the conversations you wish you were having. That's the whole point of the pod. Kyle G has a bunch of questions. He says, if you had the opportunity to appear on an animated TV show, Simpsons, Family Guy, etc., which one would you choose and what would your character be and your story be? I mean, it would have to be The Simpsons. As much as like we talk about The Simpsons no longer being in the golden age and hasn't been for a very long time, I would still absolutely love to appear in an episode of The Simpsons. I mean, it will never happen, but yeah, I mean, I just want to play myself and be a podcaster. Maybe do a podcast with Bart or Homer or something like that. Maybe work at KBBL, the radio station in The Simpsons. That would be fun. But yeah, it'd definitely be The Simpsons. I love that show so much. Or maybe South Park, but they very rarely, well, they pretty much don't ever do guests on that show. They just imitate celebrities. So yeah, I mean, it'd be The Simpsons for sure. Kyle G also asks, looking back to before you started creating your own content for 20th Century Boy and your decision to start your own podcast 4 or 5 years ago, if you were to give any advice to 24-year-old Mike, what would it be? I would give so much advice, predominantly to take a chance and take a risk and be much more confident. You don't have that much to be anxious about. Your anxiety is just a learned response to things that happened to you when you were young. You can undo a lot of it, and you should start that process now. Don't think that you're worth less than other people, and don't think that don't underestimate your intelligence and your ability, which I did a lot. Not to sound arrogant now, but I'm just much more confident and I believe in myself much more now. I'm really glad I had the courage to start my podcast because that's led to everything that I do now. But generally speaking, I was held back so much by my mind and the perils and the learned patterns of distorted thinking that I had a lot of at that time. Okay, last one from Christina, and it's actually another pizza-related one, but who doesn't like a pizza-related question? She asks, what is your favorite pizza to order? And the answer to that is the Boy Pizza Super Special. This is not sponsored. It's the Super Special. It's got, ham, cheese, olives, capsicum, anchovies. Maybe that's about it. And it's really, really nice. I'm a big anchovies on pizza guy, and pineapple on pizza, if you were wondering. All right. This has been fun. This will be my new feature video for new people on the channel. Check out all of my stuff. Check out the Patreon. Get on board. Comment. Send me an email. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next vid.